McMurray Part 5. I think. We'll see. It might be 6. Basically, we are talking about the problems with the kids. He's an absentee father, so um, uh, his kids know that having a lot of money doesn't buy you class. He can't. Um, they can't. They can do well, if they're this is the problem in these places where you have limited educational opportunities. So, um, this is there's, I don't know, 1,000 slots for college, um, and, and there's 5,000 applicants, and so the very very top ones, maybe you'll keep like 700 or 800 of those for meritocracy, right? The very top um, grades are going to get those top places, and then they'll keep 20 or 30% for connections. And if your grades are mediocre, and you don't have connections, you're not getting one of those spots. It's not mediocres in like you got D minuses, or you got A's and B's. It's just not like the super super highest scores. So it's really hard, and the kids know this. They know that they can work really really hard, but chances are uh, they're not going to go to college, right? And you're gonna take your test, and you're gonna get your high passing score. You're gonna get your B on your test, and you're be like, okay, I'm done. And he wants them to succeed, but he doesn't put in the time. Um, doesn't sit in the cafes. He doesn't. He holds the income commensurate with a high status, um, but none of the personal prestige that's needed to get others to do his bidding. And the kids know this, so that's why they aim so low. Um, Going abroad is just a natural thing. They're in the same boat as he was in 20 years, 30 years before. Um, the daughter gets married as a second wife, which, come on. Uh, Basically, the first wife is the higher status wife who stays home and raises the kids, and then the um, second wife is the companion wife who travels with him to the foreign country and takes care of him there. Uh, a big party. So he has this big party, um, which is a social competition that requires no face-to-face interaction. He says at some point, I cannot be a merchant. You can look it up in your books there. He's talking about yeah, it would make sense since I have all this in savings to bring it back and start a business. But even starting a business requires that connection. There are loads and loads of people selling computers and selling TVs and selling wiring and construction hardware, whatever. You got to have a clientele. You got to have people who will shop at your store. Um, and it's not about pricing and competition. It's about clientele. It's about connections and winning those contracts. And so he knows he's not going to make it. He knows he's just going to keep working until he retires, and then draw that retirement. Everyday life in Germany is boring. I wish I could read the description there, but as I remember it, he works long hours, 6 days a week, and then the one day he has off, I think it's Sunday, he goes to a certain cafe and he sits there and he drinks tea and he just watches people, and occasional or beer. I don't remember. I think he just drinks tea though. Um, and there's women will come over and talk to him. He's not having affairs with them. He's just having conversations, and just being an ordinary person for one afternoon, and then he goes back to work, up early, um, to work, does it right, comes home, keeps himself separated and out of trouble. Very, very boring life. And this is how many immigrants live in the United States as well. This is nothing new. Um, Chapter 37, David McMurray never actually met Thraithmus in person. He heard everything he knew about her was from interactions with her kids that he hung out with, or his wife would meet her, uh, and so this is an example of the extreme avoidance of gender mixing. This is called um, homosocial environments. You may have this in your own family. If you basically after Thanksgiving dinner, does everyone just sort of sit around and chat, or do the women all go off in one group and the men all go off in another? This is something that is really interesting in American households. It sort of depends on what you do, but take that and then compound it and make it more or less permanent. You will not socialize with, if you're a man, you will not socialize with very many married women. You in Morocco, um, because they don't they socialize among themselves. Um, Going to the bar with Ben. Ben was my friend. He was engaged to a Moroccan woman, uh, and talking about how we went to the bar, but he would never take her there because it was just too tawdry. Bars are not good places because it's public drinking. Friends coming to visit. Um, that oh, I don't remember. Goodness, in any case, we're doing this the best we can. Let's keep going. Religion among immigrants. There's vulnerability, but also no nonsense. So the thing going on here is that you have Islamism. You have people who are political, interpreting Islam in a political manner and making judgments against the state. I mean, it could be like ISIS or Al Qaeda, or it just could be like any of the dozens of religious parties that exist across the world. The goal is always to see them as we do the Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel is the prime minister of Germany, and her party, the CDU, the Christian Democratic Union. So many Islamist political parties say, "Oh, we're just like the CDU, we're just like the Republican Party in the United States," which is oftentimes seen as a very closely connected to people who are voting on the basis of religion, and so that's entirely possible. The problem is that because in the past it's been connected to um, pretty violent extremism. A lot of Arab governments just don't want anything to do with it. So just ban the party, right? Because a lot of them are pretty powerful states, and so they say, okay, just if you belong to that party, we'll throw you in jail for a decade or so, and then see when you get out if you still want to do that again. But and of course, in liberal countries in Europe, you don't have that. So they say, well, I'll just immigrate. So they work in Europe, and they do all their politicking there, calling for religious states or whatever. And Europeans are like, fine, do it. At least prior to 9/11, but even afterwards, still, there's still uh, liberal in terms of little L liberal, basically freedom of conscience. If you believe something, and it doesn't have to do with hurting someone else. What did Thomas Jefferson say? I don't care if my neighbor believes in one God or many gods or no God, so long as he doesn't pick my pocket or break my leg, I'm fine with him. And so in Europe, the political Islamists are free to recruit all they want, and they do, from the migrant laborers, from the Muslims living in Europe, etc. However, from Hadu's point of view, this is a terrible distraction and a waste of time. He tells the younger migrant laborers, don't get involved in that. That next thing that's going to happen is that you're going to get an arrest warrant coming from the Moroccan government, And then the French government will say, well, if you've got an arrest warrant for you, then you can't work here anymore. We have to extradite you. Or, something bad is going to happen. So there's really just nothing good to be gained from getting involved in religion. So he's very no nonsense about it. He's like, just, pray and fast, do your work, and put that stuff out of your mind. He has ambivalence toward the Germans. I think it's something like the Germans are honest. They will never cheat you. If they owe you $153.94, they will never give you anything less than $153.94. Absolutely, if you are due, 6 weeks of vacation, you will get, 42 days of vacation. They're not going to cheat you. Unlike, of course, Americans. That's one of the biggest areas of theft here is wage theft in the United States. Employers stealing money from their workers. And the Germans will never do that. However, Germans are morally bankrupt. They have no control over their families. They allow their the female members of their families to walk around naked, which is how they see spaghetti straps and short skirts. And they're completely racist, right? They hate Arabs and they hate Turks and they hate black people, and that's just how they are. You just have to accept that. They're perfectly honest, but they hate you, and they have no religion and no morals. So there's some ambivalence there, good and bad. Morocco is dependent on Europe. That was a key point. Page 41. Whatever they're doing, whether they're working back in Morocco, whether they're smuggling into Morocco, whether they're working as a migrant, they're all working for the Europeans. Europe is a capitalist system, and the people who own the capital run the system. So the Europeans control Morocco's economy 100%. There's very little that can happen without America, and it's the same with Mexico, right? Mexico is a perfectly wealthy, powerful country outside of its relationship to the United States. It's one of the richest countries in the world. Its average income is 3 times the international average. They have a huge economy, a lot of oil, a lot of industry, incredibly rich universities, research, all of this R&D stuff. It's a big, huge, powerful country. Mexico is, and it would be if it were anywhere else in the world except right next door to the United States, because the United States is 10 bazillion times bigger and more powerful than it. So it's reduced to the poor cousin, the neighbor to the south, because Mexicans, due to the fact that they share this border with the United States, are all working for the Americans. In one way or another, and the United States wields undue power over Mexico, and it's the same thing there. Oh goodness, we're up to 13 minutes.